Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, on this, speaking on Part 4 of the Food Bill, this is one of the core points of the bill. There was the tiers of risk, and that was an important part of the bill, and isolating and working out which food industries would be considered under what level of bureaucracy. But the other one was to what I would call homogenise the approach of local territorial authorities throughout the country. So there are people that I know, that the farmers market producers and the likes, that will be selling in one part of a district, of a region, and they'll be operating under one local territorial authority, one council. Then the next day, or even later the same day, we're wanting to sell in the same stuff in another area, and yet we're being mucked around and had different standards or hoops to jump through as the different councils used the Food Act, the existing one, in different ways to interpret it. They had different fees, and of course it was crazy that quite often they had to pay multiple fees to do the same thing, even though they're only 20 kilometres away. I'm aware in Christchurch that a number of the councils have at last come together and allowed producers to work to the one level of inspection and fees in a sort of a hub. And in a way, this is what this is my interpretation of what this part of the bill is strongly about. And that's one of the reasons the Green Party supports that. There's a very common sense approach to try and have some commonality through the country. But what it also means is that we'll still have to watch, we'll have to make sure, and I'll say we, that is community, make sure that we don't get little czars of food safety inspectors that still try and make life miserable for people from time to time, because it still does come down to personalities and people, but the bill is certainly setting up the way to make sure that there's this sort of more homogenous approach. So that's good. There is an issue around fees all the same, where the fee structures ideally are within a band and that there's not meant to be going over the top. And the bill allows for the Chief Executive, MPI, to curtail some councils if they are going over the top, and to potentially allow other people to do those inspections and everything to keep the costs down. So again, we support that part of keeping costs off our producers. I think there does need to possibly be, and maybe it will come through the regulations, a little bit more clarity all the same of what those costs actually would be. And we just need to keep those, as I say, keep those costs down. The search and surveillance part was an area of great concern for a lot of submitters, and it still is for a lot of people. But as Damien O'Connor was saying before, that's through a number of acts. Through all sorts of legislation, regulation, we have these rather strong powers through the search and surveillance bill, actually, that allow strong levels of inspection and basically break and enter in times. I've supported the intent of that in different public meetings, because if there is something that's gone wrong, if there are people being admitted to hospital from a foodborne illness and the people are becoming seriously ill, we want that stopped. We want to be able to follow through, find where that food comes from. We want to also know where that's been distributed to, and if that requires breaking down a door because you can't get hold of somebody, I think that is very sensible and practical. Again, it'll be a matter of how that aspect of the food bill or when it comes to it, the search and surveillance bill is used, that it's not used inappropriately in any way. Mr Chair, still going. Mr Chair.
Jamie Lee Ross.
I move that the question be now put.
I'll hear Damien O'Connor.